Hi, my name is Steve Bruno. This is the Intervention channel, and the subject of this video is when there are children involved. Now, children fall into three basic categories in terms of doing an intervention. There are babies. Well, four categories. There's the pregnant woman who needs to go to a program that specializes in that, and there are those programs. So that's really the answer to that. It's not a lot more, it doesn't get a lot more complicated because it isn't a question of custody and involvement and all that. I mean, the baby is in the custody of the mom's tummy. So there you go. So there are babies. There are young children, right? So you'd say a young child would be between the age of 4, whenever they can draw, talk a little bit, 3 or 4, up to, let's say, 11. That would be a young child. Even some 11-year-olds can be mature, but let's just say a mature 11-year-old up to 17 would be a young adult. So there are these three different categories when it comes to doing an intervention. Do not make the mistake of assuming that the children will not be involved at all. That is an egregious error. The child can absolutely be involved. They may not be at the meeting when the offer is made, because that's a rather heavy meeting emotionally. But what I have done, I'll give you a couple of examples, is to have a young child, let's say between ages of 3, 4, and 10, draw a picture, write a note. You could write a note based on interviewing them, right? What I mean is you have them there, they're sitting at the table and they've got their crayons out, whatever. And you could ask them, now this is I'm going to put this in context. You're about to make the offer of help to your loved one. It's his kid, his niece, his son, his daughter, right? Grandkid, whatever. And, or it's even a sister or brother. Sometimes there are great disparities in age. So whoever it is, you're going to ask him or her, what do you love about Johnny? They say, oh, well, I love how he takes me to the park sometimes, or this and that. Or I love that he cooks, he brings me cookies or something, whatever it is. And what would you like to do with your uncle, father, sister, brother? Well, I want to have presents at I had this one girl, my God, she says, I would like to have my mom give me a cake for my birthday this time and not sleep all day. Very sad. But that girl drew a picture, and I wrote down exactly what she said, word for word, in her voice, right? I wrote it in her voice. So I didn't write, I just listened to her. And that's what did it. So don't make the error of not involving a child. Involve a child in a responsible and effective way. It can make or break an intervention, I'm telling you. So you write all this down and then maybe have the child draw a picture, right? Why don't you draw a picture of you holding hands with him? I had an intervention up in Discovery Bay. This young woman was a monster of a girl. My God, man, she was, Christ almighty, she was doing coke. She was bringing her daughter, 4-year-old, to a strip club where she would strip and leave her little girl with the other strippers to look after her. I mean, it was a whole terrible situation. And she was a screaming harpy. I mean, this addict, I'm telling you, I'm not, it is what it is. She was screaming at the top of her lungs literally for 3 hours after her father took the car. I mean, there's a whole story behind it. But what happened was I ended up sitting down with her daughter, this little 4-year-old, and we were hanging out, and she was drawing pictures, and her mom came in, this young cocaine addicted wreck, and she softened up when she saw the pictures that her daughter was offering, and she took me aside, the addict took me aside and talked to me about what are we talking about doing? She got it, you know. I had an intervention in Paris. Well, let's go into the next age group, and the intervention in Paris would be a good example of this. So the age group would be a mature 11 or 12-year-old all the way up to 17. And this group is, I know we have to go back to babies, we have to talk about that because there's a question of custody, but this age group could potentially be part of the offer. It depends on how mature he or she is and how much he or she knows. You don't want to open up. I mean, the problem with it is that it can be very embarrassing. But on the other hand, I'll give you this story about Paris. I was doing an intervention in Paris and it had instructed the family to write their letters. Their friends had flown in from Jordan and Dubai. It was this very wealthy, well-to-do family. Not well-to-do, I mean, they were extremely affluent. And we were, in the sevens, which is an area, the zip code starts with a 7. It's right by the Eiffel Tower. I mean, it's a very wealthy situation. Anyway, it's not relevant to our subject here. But they had come in and I was instructing them how to write their letters and how to do the whole thing. And so we decided that Amanda, his niece, would not be there. She was 13. And the aunt, the person who had hired me, was very protective, as she should be, of Amanda. And so we didn't involve Amanda. But apparently Amanda got wind of what we were doing. So what happened is I went in, I spoke with the addict, and he was addicted to ketamine, which is an animal tranquilizer, fairly common, also called Special K. Ketamine, it's a dissociative drug, which means that when you take it or use it, smoke it, or snort it, you feel disassociated from your body. You feel that you're somewhere else. Anyway, so he was addicted to ketamine, and he was in bad shape. Amanda had seen him at the airport with white powder around his nose. She knew what was going on. But we didn't want her at the meeting where we made the offer because maybe, it would be too much for her, or too much for the addict. So I spoke with the guy, and he was kind of neutral. He didn't express any particular objection or acceptance of wanting to go to this program we had up in Denmark for him. But anyway, then we sat down and the family came in, his friends came in, and it was like, wow, okay. They sat down and his cousin began with her letter. And she had this very loving letter that talked about all the things she loved about him, right? Who doesn't want to hear about, right, what somebody loves about you. Actually, I'm going to leave you in suspense here because the video is getting a little long. We're going to go to part 2 of when children are involved. We'll also cover the subject of babies in that video, but I'm going to tell you the rest of the story about Amanda and Paris. Thank you for tuning into the Intervention channel. I hope that it's been illuminating for you. Go ahead and click on part 2. It's coming up right here at the end of this. All right, thanks for watching.